Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. Another bump in the road. So my wife and I have been working on this thing. It's been a long road and we are definitely not there yet. 2 days ago, my wife came home with bruises on her face and hands and stuff. She looked like she'd been in a fight. I asked her what happened and she said she didn't want to talk about it. I gave her a look, because, as shit as it sounds, after you've committed adultery I don't think you get to have secrets about strange occurrences. She wouldn't talk about it and just went to her room. I tried to resist the urge to immediately get to sleuthing and just decided to wait. Later, she came out of her office and told me she'd gotten into a fight with her sister. I asked what about and she wouldn't tell me, just that her sister had some things. I told her that she knew I was going to have to call Clarissa and ask about it, and she first got upset telling me that everything wasn't about my need to make sure she wasn't ducking around, which I calmly replied that no it wasn't. And if she felt that way, we could certainly fix that shit in a hurry. She scowled at me and I had to be honest. I told her we've been doing better and I love her, but us being together at the end of the year is the long shot, not the shit working out. I am not comfortable with her keeping secrets. I do not trust her, and the fact that she would say that and think to say that shit when less than a year has passed tells me a little something about her mental state. You already said duck my feelings and your vows to me. You already said duck my peace of mind. So you having the audacity to mock my concerns, even if you're feeling some kind of way, is not a good look. She tells me she's trying. She's trying so hard. That she's not doing anything wrong and that she hates that she feels she has to check in with me like a prison warden. I started to point out the only time I ever ask is when something strange happens, which is not often, you know, on account that she's still under surveillance and I know where she is at all times if I so choose. So no, I don't actively ask where she was, what she did, and who with. I already know for the most part. I know she was at her sister's house. I checked that out after she locked herself in her office. I just don't know what brought them to blows, and it's reasonable to ask. And given the current state of our relationship, and the stuff that led there. Eventually she told me she just couldn't right now and left the house. And I called her sister. Her sister wasn't very helpful, just telling me they were fighting over what she did. I asked if it's something I should be concerned about. And Clarissa told me yes and no. That I just needed to talk to my wife when she calmed down. Without any helpful information, I decided to go over to other Dougs and start checking up on communications, and this is what I managed to piece together. Amy was really shook up about one of her clients recognizing her from the videos. She wore a mask and all that, but she's a ginger, with freckles and some really obvious tattoos. She's been apparently shook about it and was talking to her sister about it in text. Clarissa seemed pretty unsympathetic in texts, but wasn't disrespectful. Just not too supportive. Messages between herself and Mimi on Discord from the time she was in the office told me that Clarissa had told her that she was getting what she deserved. That if she didn't want people to recognize her from doing stupid shit online, that she shouldn't have done stupid things online. I'm gonna be paraphrasing here, so bear with me. They didn't come to blows until Amy was complaining about feeling overwhelmed by everything and that she was scared every time things seemed to be improving that someone would pop up, and everything would spiral again. That she was trying to keep things together, but I didn't believe in her. Clarissa said that she didn't believe in Amy, and that Amy should have though of all this before she and Mimi did their little camp thing. They apparently argued, until Clarissa told Amy that she didn't deserve her life, her husband, or anything. That she was spoiled and that sooner or later I would get bored trying to fix this thing and leave her, which she said I should have done originally. Amy of course accused Clarissa of being jealous and having feelings for me, and according to what she told Mimi, said some disparaging things about Clarissa's baby daddy cheating on her and leaving her with the kid, which is what started the fight. Amy told Mimi that she yelled at me and acted stupid, but she was so frustrated. She was scared to go home, cause she was completely in the wrong and fears that I will divorce her now. She was apparently in her car crying for a while, blaming herself and being very upset she can't do anything right. Mimi told her she can either have her privacy or her man, that after what happened, she won't have both for a while, maybe even ever. And that if she couldn't handle this she should push for divorce, because it's going to be this way forever. And that she didn't know what lost trust would feel like until she lost it. They spoke about me throwing divorce in her face to get her to spill, and I'm happy that Mimi got it when she told her I wasn't throwing it in her face. It's a real response to being tired of her not understanding how serious all this is. There were some things said, but then they called and I can't really know what was said in the phone call. But later my wife came home and apologized, crying, and begged me not to divorce her. She told me about the fight with her sister, but left out key bits, which I ignored because I have to be careful what I let on that know, as I want to keep that to myself for the foreseeable future. She admitted that she felt a tone of pressure to be better all at once and that she didn't know until now everything she was doing wrong. I resisted the urge to point out that nothing aside from her infidelity was outside of the norm for her. She, in my opinion, is spoiled as duck. Partially my fault. She tells me she is having a hard time not being able to keep her own thoughts, or that she has to tell me things and can't keep anything to herself. She then cut me off by saying that she understands the alternative is and doesn't want to hear me say it. To be honest, I was thinking that we could just divorce and you wouldn't have to worry about what you did or what the duck I thought about it. She says she's afraid that every time I say that it means I'm becoming more and more apathetic to the idea of it. She says the thought of us breaking up used to be hard for me to say and it hurt me, and it hurt her. She could visibly see it. Now I apparently feel like our marriage is take it or leave it. If we reconcile, it's fine, great. But if we divorced, I'd be like, hey, it is what is. And I don't know how to answer that. I mean, it kind of is. But at the same time I'm all out of pain to have on that thought. And to be honest, though I'd miss her more than anything, if she's not happy and I'm not happy, then that may be the course. But I'm not unhappy. I am cautious, I am being realistic, and I'm of the mind that most of this is on her ass. I'm doing my part, but it's not my job to act in a manner that makes someone who has lost my trust feel trusted. Especially not this damn soon. Eventually, she got all cried out and asked if I would at least sleep in the bedroom with her tonight. Which I declined. I would stay with her till she slept, but I'm not gonna be in there like that. We're not there yet. I could see her getting frustrated by this, but I just hugged her and assured her that if we do fix this, it'll take time. I wanted to say she was given a lot in her life. I gave her a lot. I made this shit possible. But she's not going to be given a second chance, she's gonna have to earn it. I'm not 1 foot out of the door, it's just that if I determine the shit ain't going to work, I'm not going to ease out. I'm gonna go in one big swoop. I already handled the paperwork, I've already let her know what's going to happen. I have a prenup, so I ain't got to worry about that, and I would leave her the house and all that just to be able to bounce. Already got that paperwork ready. I don't think you prepare for things to get better after you've been cheated on. You prepare for your life apart. If things get better, that's the pleasant surprise, not the other way around. I just don't know what to say to her. I want to console her and support her. But I feel like I spent years enabling her and I don't want to continue doing that shit. Plus I kind of agree with Clarissa's admonishments, and her not telling me what happened when she got home was a real red flag. Am I ducking up here, or is my inquiry and position reasonable? Your wife is having a seriously hard time when she has to face the fact that she ducked up in a way that will haunt her for a very long time. What she did doesn't fit the person she wants to be, and every time when she gets reminded of that, she gets frustrated. Her frustration grows further when she then isn't hearing from you, her family, or from Mimi the words she wants to hear, and instead gets a hard reality check. Your wife struggles with the consequences, and instead of facing them head on, she rather tries to run away and find someone that tells her what she wants to hear. She still thinks that she doesn't deserve what is happening to her, that you should trust her. The main problem that comes from this mindset is that she is still not open with you, which leads to you being forced to be her jailer. She doesn't trust you as well. She is afraid to tell you what is going on, either because she believes that you will divorce her or because you will reply with something like, "What did you expect would happen if you show your ass to the whole world?" That is not what she wants to hear, so she either lies or avoids conversations, like she did this time. This is something she needs to discuss with her counselor. She needs to learn to accept that she ducked up and then how to handle it when it catches up with her, because that will happen in the future as well. The way she is handling it right now is taking care that the rift between you grows. She ducked up, and it is time that she understands what that means for both of your futures and then starts to act accordingly. I think it's more something another poster said. In her head, the webcam stuff is different than the shit she's been getting away with for years. So I think it being a real condition of our reconciliation has been trying for her. She has to get right shit. She willfully ducked up cause she felt like it wasn't important. But it's important to me, and she's right. I am prepared for the relationship to be over. It's not what I want or hope for, but it is what I'm preparing for. I'm sorry, but the relationship is over. She had put zero effort in being accountable for her cheating. And doing camp stuff without your knowledge is cheating. Please stop wasting your time and effort and end this before it causes you more heartache. Just a random internet stranger's opinion. So, Amy is having extreme difficulty understanding exactly what she broke. As with many cheaters, they lack the comprehension to understand how their actions affect the person they cheated on. She wanted to do what she did. She chose that path and that action willfully and intentionally. She did not care about the consequences when she was engaged in cheating on you. I guarantee you she knew exactly how she was betraying you when she engaged in phone sex and most likely video sexting with that guy. And she got off on it. How does she reconcile that for herself now that you know what she did? She never thought about what the consequences would be if you found out, because in her head you were never going to find out. Despite the fact that this kind of shit hardly ever stays under the rock it was born under, she didn't give it a thought while she was doing it. And to make all this so much worse for her, she enjoyed it. I mean really enjoyed it. It was exactly what she was looking for when she started down this road, knowing full well she was betraying your relationship when she did it. Think about this from her perspective. Now that the betrayal has come to light, she has to figure out how to deal with her willful and very enjoyable betrayal of you. There is no possible way for her to come to terms with what she did. There is no justification for her choices, so how can there be absolution for her cheating? There is only an explanation for why she chose this course of action in this manner, and it comes down to a lack of character on her part. Her need for validation is a character flaw, but she could have recognized it and the impulses it was engendering in her and sought help. She chose poorly. In fact, she chose so poorly she betrayed the one person she is supposed to love, honor and cherish above all others. She constantly feels like you are going to leave her, because why the hell wouldn't you? Honestly, what she did by choosing to take this path and then engaging in video masturbation with another man is legitimately some of the most awful shit a person can do to another person. All because she wanted some validation. It is awful and selfish and truly heinous behavior, and there really isn't any way to make this better for you. She needs help with how to cope with the hopeless feeling that she does not deserve your forgiveness, because she truly doesn't, but you are choosing to give it to her anyway, at least for the moment. Why wouldn't she believe that you are eventually going to leave her because she isn't worth staying with? Sadly, most people in her life are reinforcing this opinion that she deserves to be treated poorly because of her poor choice. She didn't understand how this was going to break what she had when she chose to do this, and she is having extreme difficulty understanding how to get past this. Hell, maybe in her selfish, still entitled mind she doesn't even think she did anything all that wrong. That's the biggest problem here. Is she struggling to get over it herself, or is she struggling with you not being able to get over it? Maybe a little of both. Cheaters are notorious for not being able to recognize the destruction of their actions. Man, if I had this answer I would package it and helps the millions of people suffering from the guilt of betrayal. How do you get someone to accept your forgiveness of their betrayal when they know they don't deserve it? Maybe you should have a chat with her therapist and let them know exactly what Amy is struggling with from your perspective. Let her know, of course without prying for any private info, that you see Amy struggling mightily with either her guilt over what she did, of her inability to see the depth of her betrayal, and see if either of those avenues can be explored with her in her personal therapy sessions. Amy may be too embarrassed to actually open up about her guilt and how it is affecting her. If she cannot get past this to be able to accept your willingness to forgive her for something unforgivable, you may be doomed. Usually after cheating there is an open device/communication policy if the couple is trying to reconcile. I think he has a right to check her phone, her communication, her location, as that is pretty standard for a reconciling couple. Obviously you don't want to obsessively check every hour. It's more about establishing trust and responsibility after a huge breach in the marriage. He should have all her passwords for everything at this point. Of course that might expose that he's been able to view her chat for months now, which is an entirely separate issue. I'm concerned that when she came home, to be honest, she left out some big details that you saw in their chat. I'd have to know what they are to say for sure, but when you are D-Day plus 6 months or so and she is already back to lying by omission and already fed up with the terms of reconciliation, it doesn't look good for the relationship going forward. BTW, you have every right to ask your wife why she is covered in bruises, even if she hasn't cheated. That's just relationship 101. She should have been ready to discuss it or should have stayed away from the house longer. She deliberately put herself in this situation by being with Mimi on cam. I'm sure Mimi told her she could be recognized, as it's happened to Mimi before. She lied to Mimi about you being good with all this, or it probably wouldn't have happened. Or she would have done something else. I was watching the final episode of Scenes from a Marriage, the remake, and the couple that had gotten divorced were having an affair 4 years later, even though the man had remarried and had a new baby. When his ex-wife asked him what happens if his new wife finds out about them, he thought for a second and basically said, "I guess I'm not scared enough about what would happen if I was caught to not have an affair." I'm not sure that line was in Bergman's original, but I thought it was a real gut punch about cheating. I think it's an unconscious mental calculation that all people who step out on their marriage make. Some people won't take that chance while others roll the dice. Amy definitely rolled the dice, not only by cheating but by putting it on the web. I agree with the poster above who said there are two different issues causing problems. One is what Amy did and how annoyed she has gotten with trying to rebuild your trust after only half a year or so. The other is how entitled she seems. I see it, and I think UD would agree. You used to treat her like a queen and gave her this amazing life, but like a lot of people, that wasn't enough, so she went outside the marriage. But because it was with Mimi and not some cam guy, you were willing to work on saving things. Sadly, by working on the marriage, trust building and forgiving, it has exposed just how entitled she is and how easy she had it before she blew things up. She seems to think you should be over this by now and things should be getting back to normal. She also thinks you are throwing divorce in her face all the time, but when you describe divorce coming up, it seems to be because she is chafing at the bit because she wants this to all be over and forgotten by now. Did her therapist, any therapist, not tell her it could take years to rebuild the trust, and even then it's not guaranteed? Are either of you still doing individual counseling? I'm sure you probably are, just had to ask. Of course I could be completely wrong about all of this. I don't know either of you at all, and it sounds like you two had a great relationship at one time, even though she was hiding so much of how she really felt. Hopefully you two can find way back to something like you used to have. Edit, I'm not sure I agree with the notion that we can put a big part of the blame for her dishonesty and avoiding hard conversations on UD's negative reactions. It's true he did call her out a few times, but I don't get the sense he is holding divorce over her head like the sword of Damocles. She might feel that way, but that goes back to her insecurities. I'm sure he has reacted in anger a few times, but I think the fact that she is still lying and avoiding conversations is more on her than any other factor. And it's by far the more serious issue. I seriously doubt UD answers her every question with "well, I'll just divorce you then." She left out some of the things he saw on the chat the day of the fight, and she just wants everything to go back to normal. She needs to talk with her therapist about all of this, the honesty or lack of it, and her expectations for the future of the relationship. Maybe it's time for some marital counseling if everything else isn't working for them. No, you're not ducking up. Your wife is having a hard time dealing with all of the consequences of all of her choices. On top of dealing with the fallout of her betraying you, she's facing the reality of being a cam girl. It's a lot of consequences at once, but those were her choices. Keep doing what you need to be okay, stick to your boundaries. This is a fairly bizarre circumstance. As long as you're constantly feeling obligated to snoop, this will stay an unhealthy dynamic. But I guess that you aren't quite there yet. You both, mainly Amy, definitely need to look to get past this high school drama bullshit. I know you're definitely trying, but perhaps there needs to be a better way to go about it. You're more than entitled to find out why your wife came home badly assaulted. That's not an unreasonable request at all. I think waiting for her to tell you after a while may have been better than escalating. This is getting either more toxic or the problem at hand keeps going back to square one. Do you check her convos and messages regularly, or when things don't feel right? I don't think she has a right to be angry about snooping after her actions were uncovered, and you staying with her. But it must be exhausting if you were doing so on a regular basis. It sounds like a lot of the behavior issues she finds hard to rectify were before the webcam stuns, so she probably separates the two. Feeling entitled etc. is no issue to her because it's separate from her webcam misdeeds, and so has a harder time to accept that it's an area to fix for her longer term marriage. Also, if she doesn't want to be recognized, maybe it's time to change her hair color / remove or change tattoos etc. just until her internet fame dies down. Sucks that it's not easy, but hope it gets better for you both. I only check when I get a wild hair up my ass about mysterious behavior. So, probably once every other week or so. And only just. It's something I try not to have as a crutch, and I'm too busy to check it daily or even weekly. Thanks for reposting. I have no idea why the moderators killed this post. I pretty much agree with all the posts here. The only thing I can't help to wonder is if she really thought that such poor disguise would work, that she could separate her OnlyFans life from real life, and being proved wrong is like being exposed as a cheater over again to her. So she is not talking to you about it because it would be a double whammy, like the gym incident. She needs to talk to her therapist about this instead of Mimi and Clarissa. The only thing I suggest you do is tell her to bring up the fight to the therapist, a neutral third party, and hope for the best. I suggest you read this post. Is this what you want your relationship post-cheating? We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.